is called But We're So Different. Have you ever felt like you're so different that how in the world can you really unify? We did an earlier session on appreciating diversity and that true unity requires diversity. But in this session, I want to give you some steps on how to really accomplish and achieve unity, understanding and really taking pleasure in the fact that you are different. Nobody could be more opposite than Larry and me. Honestly, whatever decision we want to make, we will always approach it from a very different perspective. Larry is very laid back, and you know what? I have a lot of energy. So he is my peace, and I am his energy. And if you can embrace that and love that, you can unify. But let's talk about what are the 5 basic steps that are required in order for us to take our differences and really maximize those in the power of our unity. So let's just look. First of all, you cannot live selfishly. It does require self-sacrifice. But I want to just go through these. And by the way, these are written in our book. It's the book that I'm holding here. Our book, When Leaders Live Together, How Two Strong Personalities Can Thrive in Marriage. Good habits of living in unity. Let's look at number 1. Do things together. I remember when my husband and I were preparing for our wedding, my dad gave me some very sage advice. Number 1, don't ever go to sleep without kissing each other goodnight. Now, I thought that was silly because I was so madly in love with him. Why would I never want to kiss him goodnight? However, it wasn't all that long until I realized why my dad told me that. So do things together. When it's time to go to bed, try to structure your day where you go to bed together. If you're outside clipping the roses, doing yard work, maybe he's washing the car, go outside with him and you could sweep the front porch while he's doing something else outside. And as much as possible, try to be together with what you do. Now, you can't do everything at the same time, but let's take grocery shopping. Many times, Larry would go with me. He would push the cart, he would help and assist. It wasn't because he liked to grocery shop, it's because he wanted to be with me. And especially when leaders live together, because you do spend a lot of time apart on the areas that you are leading and you can't be together. So the limited time that you have with one another, try to share in those responsibilities. Number 2, speak positively about your spouse to others. When I go to an environment to speak, and it has been a place where my husband has already been, it is just amazing the kinds of things that people tell me that he says about me. It makes it very easy for me to come in because he's already platformed me. He has edified me. He has built me up to the people, and I could just come in and deliver with ease the message that God has given me. I do the same for him. So talk about the wonderful attributes of your spouse to the people that you work with, where you are in the marketplace, as you go about your day. When you talk positively about them, it writes their attributes on your heart. Then when you have to encounter something that's not so positive, you know what? That's just a small deposit out of a wealthy bank account of love and respect. So it doesn't really make a dent at all in the relationship. Number 3, choose your confidants carefully. When both of you are leaders, you can't share the disappointments, the struggles, the challenges that you are going through with everyone. My husband was a pastor. There was no one that I could really share the stresses between he and the other church elders or leadership. I couldn't share the disappointments of the criticisms that may be coming toward me or him from members in our congregation because I would be sabotaged. You must be selective about who you share your confidences with. And let me just tell you, don't share your marriage problems and issues with your mother. Now, I respect my mother so much, but I'm not going to talk negatively about my husband to my mother. My mother loves my husband and my father. But if I tell them the problems or the issues that maybe he is going through, we will work through the process. My love is to a dimension that their love isn't. My commitment, my covenant is there, and we'll work through those negative things, and they won't remain in our relationship. But they won't have that kind of grace to forgive, to release, and to love beyond. So be very selective who you share your confidences with. It must be someone that you can trust and someone that you can pray with, but they're not on the kind of the inside circle of your life. Is that 3? Yes. Number 4, seek wise counsel. So don't try to go through things alone just because you're both maybe in high visible position. So look outside of your position, and in the multitude of counsel, there's wisdom. So you won't have all of the answers within yourself to resolve the conflicts that may arise in your marriage. So definitely seek outside. And then number 5, don't neglect the power of prayer. Just because you're a leader doesn't mean that you move above and beyond. The most powerful source that you have is the power of the Holy Spirit who dwells in you. And go to your secret place. Go to your closet. You and God can work it out, and He will give you the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding, the discernment, what to say, what not to say. He will direct you. So yes, we're different, but these are the things that I believe when Paul told us to make every effort to keep the unity. These are the 5 efforts that you should make. Enjoy coming together.